fuel is go. 1.8 G. 8 psi cabin, and the oxygen is go. Holding at 5.5. Cabin holding at 5.5. Oxygen is go.
The voice of a man 115 miles above Earth. The man, 37-year-old Lieutenant Commander Alan Bartlett Shepard, Jr., United States Navy, made that report you just heard while traveling at a speed of over 5,000 miles an hour, while traveling in space in a special vehicle which had been carried from Earth at the top of a powerful rocket. This is the story of that man, his journey, and of the scientists who made possible his mission in outer space. Our story begins in the morning of Friday, May 5th, at 34 minutes past the hour of 10, at Cape Canaveral in the state of Florida. A man touches a button. The touch ignites the engines of a powerful rocket standing not too far away, gleaming white in the powerful light of the tropical sun. With a roar and a blast of flame, the rocket starts to lift straight up. For the hundreds of men and women who usually work at Cape Canaveral, the launching of a rocket has become almost routine. But not in this case. For at the top of the rocket, inside a strange-looking vehicle that looked somewhat like a child's toy top, there was a man.
Commander Shepard is, at this moment, inside the cone-shaped capsule perched atop the missile, awaiting the final seconds of the countdown, which has already begun. The rocket itself is in full view. It is a gleaming white mercury redstone rocket, towering nearly 83 feet into the sunny sky, and is a modified version of the one that helped push America's first satellite into orbit some 5 years ago. Shepard himself began the day at 2 o'clock this morning. Shortly after having a breakfast of steak and eggs and toast, he went to a hangar designated Hangar S, where he was given a medical examination. He then put on his spacesuit and helmet. After he was dressed, electrical nodes were attached to his body to measure the physical pressures he will undergo in flight. He is now on top of the missile, and here's the final countdown.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff. Liftoff. And 34 minutes after the hour.
This was the beginning of a journey that would last only 15 minutes. A quarter of an hour, which to hundreds at Cape Canaveral and to millions across the United States may have seemed like a quarter of a century. For there were probably few in this country who did not hear the voice of Lieutenant Colonel John Powers, public relations officer of this project, as he kept everyone informed of the progress of the flight.
Freedom 7 in voice communication with the Mercury Control Center. Reports 3.5 G. Cabin pressure holding fine. Cabin pressure holding 5.5 pounds per square inch. The flight trajectory is still A-OK. The pilot is in good voice communication with Mercury Control. Freedom 7 with astronaut Alan B. Shepard reports the fuel system is go, 4G, cabin 5.5 pounds per square inch, oxygen go, all systems go. Pilot reports tower jettisoned. Astronaut A-OK. Periscope coming out. Turnaround started, assuming orbital attitude. He's going to hand control movements now. Switching to manual control of the pitch attitude. Trajectory looks A-OK. Pitch control A-OK. Switching to manual yaw. Medical monitor in Mercury Control reports pilot's condition appears to be excellent. Taking over manual control of the roll attitude. Roll is okay. Working now. What a beautiful view is a quote. Pilot reports 3 to 4/10 cloud cover along the eastern coast of the United States, obscuring the eastern coast up through Cape Hatteras. Pilot reports assuming retro attitude, initiating retro fire sequence. Pilot reports mission very smooth. Retro rocket number 1 has fired. Retro number 2 has fired. Retro number 3 has fired. Preparing to jettison the retro rocket pod. We are still receiving excellent voice communication from the pilot. Medical monitor reports everything A-OK in the cockpit. The retro rocket packet has jettisoned. The retro rocket packet has been jettisoned. Beginning to roll into re-entry attitude. Automatic control system operating properly. The Mercury spacecraft is beginning to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. We have a registration in the control center indicating 0.05 of a G, indicating the beginning of penetration. We are still in voice communication with the pilot. 9G coming down. His words are okay. Going through peak G now, he is still talking, saying okay. All data here at the Mercury Control Center at this time is excellent. Pilot reports 30,000 feet on the way down. Pilot now talking to us via a radio link at Grand Bahama Island, and we're reading him loud and clear. Drogue parachute has deployed. The drogue parachute has deployed. Pilot reports all systems in the cockpit A-OK and operating properly. The medical monitor in the Mercury Control Center reports the pilot A-OK all the way. The main parachute has deployed. The main parachute has deployed. The Mercury spacecraft Freedom 7 is now descending on its main parachute.
A few minutes later, the capsule hits the water of the Atlantic Ocean. Commander Shepard was 290 miles from Cape Canaveral. He had reached a height of 115 miles, a speed of 5,100 miles an hour. Commander Shepard's journey, which had begun only some 15 minutes before, came to an end quietly, a lot more quietly than it had begun. Strangely enough, the flight of an American from Florida into outer space and back was predicted by a French writer who died years before Alan Shepard was born, Jules Verne. Verne lived from 1828 to 1905, but it has only been in recent years that the world has caught up with his imagination. With an amazingly prophetic pen, Jules Verne wrote of men being fired into space from the peninsula of Florida. Why he chose Florida as the locale of man's first flight to the moon, no one knows. But he packed many exact details in his book, From Earth to the Moon. The story says 5 million people came to the imaginary community of Tampa Town in Florida to see the rocket firing. It was a rocket firing not unlike the one we have witnessed at Cape Canaveral in Florida. In Verne's book, 3 men took the imaginary trip to the moon. They enjoyed every moment of it, even the sensation of weightlessness, a phenomenon about which we know very little even today, but which Jules Verne described with phenomenal accuracy. A brush with a meteorite changed the course of Verne's spacecraft, and its course was altered. Instead of landing on the moon, it merely circled it. Then, by using a century-old version of what today the scientists call retro rockets, return to Earth. The three space travelers of Jules Verne's imagination landed in the ocean just as, some 100 years later, the first American space traveler would land. The ocean that cradled the imaginary spacecraft of Jules Verne still roars against the beaches of Florida today. But now, the ancient sounds are blending almost indiscernibly with new sounds, just as one man's incredible imagination has blended with reality. The effort which made reality of Jules Verne's imagination could be said to have begun toward the end of the year 1958. That's when the United States announced its intention to start a program aimed at orbital flight. The program was named Project Mercury.
The basic purpose and objectives of the project is to safely orbit a man in the lower edges of space around the Earth, recover him safely, and while he is in orbit, evaluate his capabilities in space to see first what he can do, what problems will be facing us for further, more complete space exploration. In the fall of 1958 was the preparation of plans and specifications for the capsule